now we get into the more high-end budget category, and I have 6 fragrances to share. I didn't want to put too many in here because, again, I don't encourage spending a lot of money on fragrance for a gift if you're not sure what they like. First cab off the rank is Wild Sandalwood by Goldfield and Banks. I have a few bottles of Goldfield and Banks. I chose this one because it was a toss-up between this and Pacific Rock Moss, which I only have a travel size of. I chose this one because I think this is, I think they're all unisex, but I think this is just something a little bit different, and yet also something that I think anyone could really appreciate. You could layer this under other things because it's quite soft and creamy. It's woody, a little bit citrusy. Obviously, you've got the sandalwood in there. I think they're, I don't know what other woods are in here, but I'm presuming there might be cedar. It is quite woody. The wood does have that real dryness to it in the base, but there is a creaminess to this fragrance as well. And I'm not sure what gives it that. I haven't looked at the notes for a really long time, but I feel like there's some kind of floral in here that's doing that. It's really, and of course the sandalwood can be creamy as well, but really, really enjoyable, obviously. And I basically just think that this fragrance doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it deserves more attention. But perhaps the reason it doesn't get a lot of attention is because it's not a loud, attention-grabbing fragrance. But I really do think this is perfectly unisex, this fragrance. And again, it goes really well. You can layer it under other things if you want to give sort of a creamy, woody base to something else. So that is White Sandalwood by Goldfield and Banks. Alternatively, there is the new release of Sunset Hour, which I do have a little sample of here. This is a fruity, I want to say fruity floral, but it does get quite woody at one point as well. So, and different people have said that it sort of plays differently on their skin. Some people get more of the fruits and the ginger in the opening. It's very fruity in the opening, but I actually get, this goes quite woody on me. So it's very nice. And if you want to get something that's more of a new release and maybe a little bit more special in that regard, then maybe this might be a good one to go for. Or you could go for something else in the line and pick up a sample of this, or I don't know if they're doing travel sizes of it, probably not because it's a new release, but you could always just get a sample of it and throw that in as a little bit extra. Next up is 1899 by Histoire de Parfums. I really love this house, and there are so many great offerings from them, and I'm really, really glad that T2M Sensory is now bringing this house into Australia. They have been doing it for a little while now, but when I bought this one and my Ombre 114, I had to buy them directly from the perfume house in France. This is a really great, spicy, woody, aromatic kind of fragrance. So it opens fairly light. Hang on, let me just spritz. I'm going to spritz it on my hand. I haven't worn this for ages. It's so good. So it's quite aromatic in the opening and really peppery, but not sharp pepper. I think it's actually black pepper in this. So it just is a little bit more, I don't know, black pepperish. Pink pepper to me is a lot sharper and a lot crisper and a lot brighter. Black pepper seems to, I've even got a black pepper essential oil as well, and it does sort of have a muted feel to it, even though when you use pepper in real life, the black pepper, white pepper, or whatever you're using can still be quite in your face. I just find that black pepper generally seems to be a bit softer and not so sharp and piercing. So I really, really like this one. It gets quite woody in the base. There's a hint of sweetness, but not too much. It's fantastic. It's kind of, it's quite moody as well, this fragrance. But because it sort of opens really light and fresh and aromatic, and then it dries down to, you know, something a little bit darker and a little bit, you know, woodier. So I really, really rate this one. Matt has discovered this one too in my collection. So I think in the not too distant future, we're probably going to have to upgrade to a bigger bottle because we're going to go through it. The next one is in the higher price bracket, but it is still, I think, classified as a designer fragrance. This is Van Cleef & Arpels Vanille Orchidée Vanille. Get it right, Cherie. Obviously, if the person you're buying for doesn't like sweet vanilla-y fragrances, then they may not like this one. But generally, this seems to be a bit of a crowd pleaser and most people seem to like it. This was one of the first vanilla, like, centric fragrances that I ever bought. And I got it because people talked about it so much. So what I like about it is that in the opening, it's quite zesty with orange. So it's an orangey vanilla and I really enjoy it. I think it's very soft. It forms this really lovely scent bubble around you. It warms up with your skin. It doesn't really change that much on my skin once I start wearing it. I do find that sort of those orangey, spicy elements in the opening tend to die away and it really just dries down to be primarily vanilla. But it's just so well done. It's not overly sweet. I think that's what I like about it. It's not too cloying, it's not too heavy, and it's not too sugary, it doesn't smell too artificial. So I think it's just a really well done vanilla. So unless the person you're buying for really, really, really hates vanilla fragrances, then, you know, maybe they wouldn't like it. But generally, I think this one would go down pretty well. The next one is one I've talked about quite a bit on this channel. This is Sandalwood Temple by Kurkdjian. Look, I would be really surprised if there was anyone who really disliked this fragrance. It might not be everyone's favorite. It certainly is one of mine. I just really, really love it. But I just can't imagine somebody really, really hating it. Even if you weren't a huge fan, even if you're more of a sweet fragrance fan, although this has a bit of sweetness to it, so I think it really does cater for everybody. But even if the person you're buying for really prefers more out there sweet fragrances, you can just layer this underneath something else, or they could wear it to bed at nighttime. It's a really beautiful woody, it's very soft. I think there's a hint of, to me, I get it like a hint of smokiness in it. I don't know if there is incense or anything listed in here. It's very subtle, but I definitely get it. And then, as I mentioned, when it dries down with just a hint of sweetness to it. So it's not too woody, it's not too dry. It's beautifully soft. It's very diffusive, a very diffusive woody fragrance. And I've talked about it a lot. I think if you've watched any of my other videos, you probably are sick to death of hearing about this one, although I haven't spoken about it for a little while. So Kurkdjian, Sandalwood Temple. The next one is also widely loved, but I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a crowd pleaser per se. This is Soir by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. The reason being that some people really don't like this, or, you know, don't get along with it because the opening is very spicy and aromatic. So it's quite peppery, quite crisp. It's got some really crisp spices in the opening. And as I said, it's quite aromatic as well. I don't know what's in there, but it does have that sort of green aromatic tone to it. Maybe there's lavender in there as well. So there's a crisp sort of sharpness to it in the opening, and it sort of leans arguably a bit masculine. I could imagine this, being, when I smell the opening and when I smell it out of the bottle, I get a picture in my mind of a very well-dressed man at a formal event or something like that. That's kind of the image I get in my mind. However, I really like it. But then it dries down to be this beautiful, enveloping, sweet, fluffy amber. And that, I think, is the crowd pleaser part. I think just about everybody loves the dry down of this one, but some people don't get along with it because of that opening, and they feel like, they don't want to have to get through that in order to get to the dry down, when there's other ambers out there on the market that pretty much give you that sweetness right off the bat. But I really enjoy the journey of this one, and I just love I love the idea of, wearing this for a formal event where, at the beginning of the evening, I'm smelling very quite formal. That's the opening to me is very formal. And then as the evening progresses and the energy of the room sort of starts to tone down a little bit, you just develop this beautiful, warm, enveloping, inviting cloud around you. So that's a grand Soir. And the last perfume on this list is Paradis Lointains by Orchidée, another French house. I just think this fragrance is so pretty. It's kind of aromatic. Arguably it's kind of a fruity floral. It's got some woods in there as well, but they're very subtle. Everything about this fragrance is subtle except for the longevity. I think this lasts really well on my skin. It's not a huge projector. It does project a little bit in the opening, but it dies down to sort of be a close scent bubble and skin scent fairly quickly. I mean, after a couple of hours. But what I really love about it is that it's kind of this beautiful, fresh, watery, not aquatic, but sort of watery, dewy florals with some woods. It's not overly sweet, but there is fruits in there as well. I can't remember what fruit is in there. I think there's juniper in here as well. It's just really, really elegant, and to me, it kind of epitomizes the perfect spring day scent. I could imagine just wandering around in a meadow wearing a straw hat and a floral dress, It's that kind of fragrance. But I wear this to work as well because it does have a really beautiful, fresh element to it, and I feel really clean and put together. It's a very put together, arguably very feminine leaning fragrance if you worry about that sort of thing, but it's really, really beautiful. That's pretty much all of the fragrances in terms of perfume. But the other thing you can do, obviously, is if you want to get somebody a fragrance, or maybe you want to introduce them to something new, but you don't want to invest a huge amount of money in a bottle of perfume that they may not like, one way is to use bath and body products instead. So most fragrance lines these days have some kind of body product or alternative to the actual perfume. For instance, Tom Ford, I don't know if he does with all of his fragrances, but I know that obviously I have the Soleil Blanc body oil, which is the shimmery one. So that's a little bit fancy, also very festive. Oh, I really like that fragrance as well. And you've also got, or you could go for a more traditional body cream, such as the Chanel No. 5 body cream. This is absolutely gorgeous. The scent of this is not the same as the perfume. It's a lot softer, a lot more approachable, I think. So that also might be a really good way of introducing someone to No. 5 rather than buying them a perfume. It also comes in a body lotion as well. My other favorites in terms of scented body lotions are the L'Artisan Parfumeur. These are fantastic. I don't know how easy they are to get, and I don't know if they still do them even. I think you can still get them from their website, which I cannot order from their website, I don't think, because I don't think they ship to Australia. But I bought these in a local store, and these were sort of run out stock. These were testers too. So, but the scent concentration in these lotions is really, really good. There's that option. I know that Maria Meliora, whose channel I'll link down below, she did a video recently where she was talking about Amouage fragrances, and she's been buying the Amouage shower gels as a way of getting exposure to the Amouage perfume line and to try and understand which ones she likes the best. So I think that's a fantastic idea. And then of course, finally, my tried and true method of getting my fragrance fix if it's not going to be perfume is scented candles. Here I have a Guerlain fragrance candle, although I don't know what scent this is. This was actually given to me, but we all know that I am a fan of the old scented candle. I've got 2 candles burning in the background behind me. I've done several videos, I think, on talking about my favorite candles. So that is another option as well. And I think candles are always well received. If you don't like the idea of giving somebody candles, or they have pets that they worry will knock them over or something like that, then diffusers are also a really great option. I do have upstairs, and I forgot to bring it down, but I'll try and cut some footage in here of the fragrance oil. But a local perfumery here in Brisbane makes beautiful diffuser oils that you can put in a diffuser, you know, one of the ultrasonic ones that don't get hot, and it scents the room beautifully. My house smells amazing, and I can't recommend that method enough. And some candle makers also produce or sell diffuser oils for people who don't want to use heated products or open flames. So these are all just really great methods of introducing people to fragrance. And of course, perfume houses themselves now are getting on board with producing candles as well. The only thing I'll say about that though is make sure that the candles are made from safe products. So that was my not so short video, as it turns out, on some ideas for gifting fragrance items at Christmas. I know that some of the fragrances I talked about here were, you know, maybe not so well known or a little bit oddball. I guess I was just trying to get the creative juices flowing for you and not just put the same old stuff in front of you. But anyway, hopefully you found that useful and it maybe gave you some ideas. And if you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up. It really does help. If you feel so inclined, you might like to subscribe as well. I have noticed that the majority of my viewers at the moment aren't subscribed. So, you know, if you have watched a few of my videos, then maybe hit the subscribe button and then you'll get notified. I will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.